But we have a big problem here. We have the biggest problem here. And I know what is the biggest, what's boggling you right now?
Homework.
Yes, correct. That's one. But I think one question that all of you have here is, what is this biggest problem that Mike is talking about? You know, biggest problem I see on a program sheet, but I don't know what is it. Right, but I really want to find out, what do you think is the biggest problem? So let's have a bit of activity. Can we all take out our handphones and let's scan the QR code over here, and let's have a quick survey. See if everybody thinks they have the same perspective of the biggest problem. Okay. Once you're in, enter the code 566377, and we'll see everybody's response in a while. Yes. Let's go with the world's biggest problem. Wow. Is everybody in? Okay. Donald Trump. No money. Climate change. Okay. Don't worry, this is I wouldn't be able to track who's giving all this response. Dumb people, okay. I hope I'm not one of the dumb people. Okay, let's scroll down and see. We have 12 responses. Any more? Lack of confidence. Interesting. And any wives here think that husbands are the world's biggest problem?
It's not there, so it mustn't be it.
Yeah, it probably isn't it. I agree with you, Jackie.
Also,
Right.
the biggest problem I have is my little brother.
Now,
Huh? I don't have a wife, why would I?
yes. So we have all these responses, right? You have things like climate change. You have things like your wives, Donald Trump. And let's look at what this World Economic Forum says. Okay, the top 5 problems. These are, okay, how many of you here are millennials? Millennials. Raise your hands, millennials.
What is millennials?
Yes. Millennials are those born within the age of 1980 plus? 1980s? 90s? Yeah, it depends. There's a lot of different definition, but there are some that starts from the 80s. Right. So this survey, they surveyed the millennials, what they think is the biggest problem. Let's see, Okay, 20% thinks religious conflicts are the biggest problem in the world right now. You all agree? Yes? No? Okay. Poverty. Big problem, right? You say people don't have enough to eat, don't have clean water.
Oh yeah, that's a big problem.
That's a big problem. Yes, even Ernest thinks so. Inequality. Oh. Did you all watch the recent video by CNA about inequality? I think this probably shoots up in Singapore right
I
now.
don't watch news.
It's a video. Ask your dad to show it to you. Large-scale conflict wars is going on all across the world. Do you think that's a big problem? Yes. See, we got so many big problems. And the last one, somebody actually got it right. Climate change.
I thought North and South Korea were
Yeah.
at peace.
Yes, but there are still so many other problems in the world right now. If there's no problems, there wouldn't be any news. All your news agencies will all shut down. All your BBC, CNN, they all shut down. Right, so the good news is that you're all right.
Why?
You're all right.
It's like, okay.
No, previously when I did this presentation, I told people that you're all wrong. You ask Eugene, the last time when I did this, I told everybody that they are wrong, but I kind of realized something. Nobody likes to be told that they are wrong. So you're all right. Give yourselves a round of applause for being right. Right. But the biggest problem that keeps us up at night, climate change. Yes, these few days it keeps me up at night. Very hot, cannot sleep. Need to on the aircon, if not cannot sleep. I sleep without the aircon most of the time, but these few days, especially this week, I haven't been able to sleep without the aircon on. And people like Donald Trump are, they are also a big problem to me. But Trevor, does Donald Trump keep you up at night?
Nope.
It doesn't.
We don't even live in America.
Right. Anybody had any other responses on the menti.com just now about different problems? Probably your wives keep you up at night. Yes. Greed. Yes. Yes. That's a very powerful. Greed can be good and can be bad. Right. You watched what's the movie? Gordon Gekko said greed is good.
I know what keeps me up at night. How many times
Yeah.
I'm gonna burp tomorrow?
How many times are you?
I'm gonna burp tomorrow.
You're gonna burp tomorrow. Wow. That's a very special problem to have. Yes. So what I think is the biggest problem that will keep all of us at night is this. Right. It is. Very simply, my problem.
What?
Have you thought about this? That you don't care about other people's problem that much, right? You could have a close friend who has serious debts, but at night you are still sleeping, you won't lose sleep over it. Right? You can have we talked about climate change, but really climate change, let's say, how does it really affect you? Do you wake up in the middle of the night and say, the icebergs in Antarctica are melting, man. That worries me. Nobody ever said that, I believe. Right? Nobody ever woke up in the middle of the night and said, these people are really cutting down trees, it is very bad for the environment. Nobody ever said that. And my problem is always the biggest problem. For Trevor, your problem is always the biggest problem to you, right? In your perspective. Just like when I say you are right. And when we are having an argument, you are right and I am right. Right? In our own perspective, we always have problems. Anybody here can safely say that at this moment right now, I don't have any problem.
Nope.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You are thinking about homework. How many times, and even how many times you're going to burp tomorrow. And that is a problem to you. That could be something that keeps going on in your mind and you can't sleep tonight.
At least there's no school tomorrow.
Does it make sense to you that my problem is the biggest problem for all of you?
Yes.
And it really is what we choose to focus on. And when I was sitting down back when David was doing his speech, he kind of summarized what I wanted to present today in 7 minutes and 3 seconds. So that was my biggest problem when I was hearing him speak.
Timing.
At the end of the day, what David is really talking about in his 7-minute speech was about communicating. Right? So it doesn't matter what you're doing, what industry you're in. Do you think, let's flip it around, which was what David did with all of us. Right? Draw the cake. Did you even ask what kind of cake it is? Right? If you were to flip it around, most of us here are working, studying. Okay? Flip it around and ask yourself, if you apply this mindset, you start thinking from the other person's perspective, do you think it is important to know what is the other person's problem, other than just focusing on your own? Right? Take, for example, if this is you, and you are working for someone, would you want to know what your employer's problems are? Because at the end of the day, companies hire you to solve problems. Right? And if you can solve your boss's problem, you get into their good books. Right? And if, let's say, you're in business, you have to know what your client's problems are. And you can flip this around in many variations. I'm just giving 2 examples here. Right? You are going for an interview, you need to know what is the company's biggest problem so that you can tell them what is the value you can bring to the table so that you can help them solve certain problems. Likewise, you want to know what is bothering your wife or your husband so that they don't become your biggest problem. They will nag at you, they will get frustrated with you, and relationships gets affected. Right? And it all boils down to communication. Right? It's a very big word, but it is something that we can't do without. Right? Even when you're not talking, you're also communicating. Because you can be sitting in one area and not thinking about not doing anything, but your mind is always talking to yourself as well. So you're communicating with yourself as well. And through speaking with a lot of people, right, I came up with this topic. And I came up with what Melvin gave away just now. It was a 4I model. And most people will tell you, oh, this is my 4I model. I'm going to list them one by one. But I like to do things a little bit differently. I want to put it into a graph. And I add another 2 I's in between. So altogether, got a lot of I's to remember. Okay? So this is how the graph would look like. Do you think if you are more intimate with the person, not physical, just intimate communications, okay? Having more intimate communications, it will lead to more influential communications as well? Right? Who would like to be able to influence anybody? Just anybody. Be able to communicate very, very easily with anybody. Let's say today you need help. You say, Danny, you say, can I borrow $1,000 from you?
Sure.
I wish I could say the same
Would
thing.
you like to have that kind of charisma where you can just, of course, there's a thin line between manipulation and influence. Who can tell me what's the difference between manipulation and influence?
Actually, I wish my little brother could speak the proper.
The intention, right? What's the difference in the intention?
One's negative and one is more positive.
Yeah, one is negative, one is positive. Well, the other way I can put it is also when I'm manipulating someone, it is just for my own good, right? When I influence someone, it could be both parties. It could be a win-win. Right, so this is how I came up with this model, intimacy and influence. And the starting point of it starts with an I, the first I. Anybody want to guess what's the first I of communication? iPhone. Okay? Internet. Okay. It is more like a behavior that you display. A behavior. Okay?
Integrity?
Integrity, very close, but it's probably higher up. Inquisitive. Okay? That is pretty close to my later I's, but this is probably a not so good example of an I. It's called indifference. Right. And if really you consider indifference to be on this chart here, I think it's shameful. Because this is where it should be, on the negative. Agree? Yes? Yes. So, think about this question. When was the last time you were indifferent to someone?
What does that mean?
Bochap. You know what's bochap? Where you, let's say probably your dad speaks to you, and then you're just like, oh yes, okay, and then he asks you to, clean up yourself. But yes, I will do it. But then you just didn't do it. Yeah. So it was a very, don't care attitude. Have you thought about when was the last time you were indifferent to someone? Did you even display that behavior today? And if you were to constantly display that behavior, do you think you will increase your influence and intimacy with that person? And the next question is, who are you most indifferent to? Mikhail, who are you most indifferent to? Who's the first person that pops into your mind? Yourself. Okay.
Model answer.
My mom.
Oh. How about you, Jackie? Who do you think you are most indifferent to?
It's a hard question to answer because we wouldn't even care. care
Yeah.
and think about the person.
Yes.
Mine is probably sometimes my family members.
Exactly. A lot of people would think that you are indifferent to strangers. But really, you really, most of the time, are indifferent about the fact that strangers came into your life. Right? And this is the group of people that I'm most indifferent to most of the time. I am here, in case you don't recognize me. I don't know if I've changed much. This is at the start of the year. This is my family. My wife, my younger brother, my mother, my mom, my dad, my elder brother, and my sister-in-law. These are the people that I have been most indifferent to most of my life. Right? They tell me, hey, can you help me do something? Especially my parents. Most of the time, your parents, especially if you have elderly parents, not so good with technology. They, hey, my phone like got some problem. I don't know your dad go and press what lah. Like, can you help me set back or not? Then I was like, okay, later. And the later never came. Any of you had the same kind of similar scenarios like that? Right, we kind of took our family members for granted because we think that they'll always be there.
Oh shit.
Yes. So, do not be indifferent. Like what David said, treasure every moment with your loved ones. Okay, so every time you want to tell your parents, your loved ones, later I'll do it. Think about, am I being indifferent? And next on the chart, okay, we have indifference. And this goes up slightly. I wouldn't say it's very good. Second I. Anybody want to make a guess what the second I is?
Inducive?
Inducive.
Is that even a word? I don't know. Involved.
Interesting. It's interesting. Interesting. Right, so whenever I present this, it's like, wow, the second point is very interesting. Isn't interesting a good thing to be?
Yeah.
How many of you think that interesting is a good behavior to display when you're talking to someone? Right, I'm going to tell you the truth about being interesting. This is me, okay? Imagine I came on the first thing I did. I started telling you about my previous career. I spent 9 years in the Air Force. This is the aircraft I fly. Do you know that I'm a senior instructor, the highest of the highest already, cannot go any higher. And I got 600 over hours. I am probably the 4th most hours throughout the history of this aircraft.
How do you even fly? It looks like a torpedo with wings.
Yeah, amazing, right? But I can make this thing fly.
Is it controlled by a remote controller?
You'll be surprised what it is controlled by. Can you imagine? And I've won awards, right? I've gone to competitions to have compete with other squadrons, flying competitions. I've won awards. I'm in fact one of the best pilots around.
More than ECI.
Is it interesting to you guys?
Yes. Quite interesting.
Quite interesting, right? Now, but the thing is, not everybody is going to find it interesting. Somebody will probably find me, hey, this arrogant guy down here just talking all about his achievements. Any of you have heard someone speak like that before? They start with how good they are, right? I have multiple awards, you know.
Oh, no.
First photo they show with the president receiving award.
Oh, now I think I know what
Yeah.
interesting stuff could be.
Right? And then, or I could be telling you that
They could be gems.
a lot of things, you know, when you go to MRT stations, you get your financial advisors coming to you. Come to my company, sign with my company. You see, I got 11 consecutive quartile top performance. You sure make money, man. What are you going to feel like? You feel like, this guy is just being interesting, but I'm not even interested in buying a policy in the first place. Right. So at the end of the day, being interesting just portrays you as someone who is self-absorbed, right? That it's all about you, right? And it's always subjective to the other person's perspective, whether he finds you interesting or not. And you always have no control over what is interesting or not to the other person if you're just going to use the same template again and again, right? Just show off your awards, your photo with the president, your accolades. Okay? And the most important thing here is this word here, context. Right. You all understand the meaning of context? Now let me give you an example. Today, you go to your friend's house and it's a very hot day, right? And your friend decided to make this very cool, refreshing herb-infused water just ready for you to drink. And when you are here, you reach his house, he decided to pour this drink for you. He went into the kitchen, took out the nicest plates you have ever seen, and he started pouring water onto the plate. Does it make sense to you? Water on a plate, how are you going to drink the water?
You just like this.
Right? The nicest plates in the world can't hold water and help make you drink water efficiently.
Take a straw.
That is context, right? You are not even recognizing a context. In this context, you should be giving a cup rather than the most beautiful plate. The most beautiful plate in the world wouldn't be able to hold water for you to drink efficiently. Right? So, now that we know that interesting is not the way to go, where shall we go then? It's another I again.
Interested.
Exactly. Being interested. Just different tense, but totally different meaning. Interesting and being interested. Now, being interested is just all about asking questions. Remember the exercise that David did with all of you? And what did he do after that? He asked, how many of you asked, what kind of cake should you draw? It's all about asking questions, right? And especially when you meet someone new, you want to show your interest in someone. Instead of going up to a networking event, first thing is, hi Melvin, I'm a life coach, award-winning one. Last time Air Force, damn kilat one. How would you, do you feel like, wow, this person, I want to speak to him more? Probably not, you avoid lah. Unless you want to sign on as a same UAV pilot as well. Right? Then you want to learn how to be the same kind of person. But you definitely don't want to learn that kind of arrogance. So, I have compiled, okay, before that, if you are meeting the person for the first time, a lot of people, okay, how many of you here are introverts? Raise your hand. Okay, these are all the fake introverts because introverts don't raise hands. Right. But can it be better? Yes. And how can it be better then? I mean, interested is such a high level already, don't you think so? That you are really showing effort in wanting to know the other person. And there is one level further. Yes. Okay. Our dear investor is telling us to be invested. Being invested. Does it make sense to you, being invested? Right? And as I was searching online for a picture that describes invested, and this one came out. Right? It's just like a parent to a child. A parent is just not just interested in a child, he is invested in their growth. Right? Make sure that he doesn't fall down, be there with them the first time they ride a bicycle. Right? And when they are capable enough, they let them go. Being invested. So this is more high level already. Right? And we are all invested in other people's problems. If we become invested in other people's problems, our family members' problems, right? Imagine the kind of impact, the kind of relationship that we will have with them. Very, very strong bond, because you are always invested in them. When they are down, you are there for them. When they have things to celebrate, you are there with them to celebrate their joy, their achievements. Okay. But one word of caution. Invested can also be used the wrong way. Right? Imagine you meet somebody for the first time, and then you suddenly you heard what I said, but you didn't hear the whole story. You just came in and invested. You went in and become investor and say, how much money do you have in your bank account? And then you start asking very deeply personal questions. You know what you appear like? Creepy, right? What is this person coming on to me like this? So people wouldn't think that you are invested. People would think that you are creepy and say, what is this guy asking you? Hey, where do you stay? Exactly which block? Has anybody ever had something like that?
That was infatuated.
Yeah. Correct. Probably infatuated. You give the people the impression that you are infatuated. Right? I had this experience many years ago. One primary school friend reconnected with me, but this was when I was, I think, in poly lah. So that was probably half a life. No, not half a lifetime. I'm not that old yet. More than 10 years ago. Okay, more than 10 years ago. Well, when we were younger, everybody was saying that she likes me, but I've never liked her. Right? And she started texting me, and she asked me some questions, or I answered her. She asked me, where do I stay? I stay in Choa Chu Kang. Say, which block, which unit? We so long never talked, and then you started asking me which block, which unit. I decided, okay, that's it. I think that's enough lah. I didn't reply her after that. Yeah, because it was creepy like that. So everything is a double-edged sword, right? Too much of a good thing may not be too good. At the end of the day, communication is always two ways. It's never one way. Right? If it's one way, it is indifferent. Right? So this is the chart. The 4 eyes plus another 2 eyes, a lot of eyes here. Okay? In fact, I'm not sure why there are so many eyes when it should be a lot of you. Okay, sorry for this. Yeah. Creepy, but yeah, like I was saying, all this start with I, but in fact, this presentation was never about I, not about me. It's about all of you. So that all of you can communicate better. Right? Being interested and invested. And don't be interesting anymore. Don't go around telling people how good you are. Let people find out for themselves. Show them how much you care about them. Show them how much you are invested in your loved one's progress in their life. And thank you, that's all. But before I end, I would just like everyone to probably just give me some feedback. Right? Just scan the QR code, 3 questions, very easy one. A bit of feedback for me. Let me know what I can do better. If you think I did very well, you can write me a testimonial. Do you have to? Oh, okay lah. It's just probably not meant to be.
Previously in sales, I think this topic is not a lot, especially in sales too. Or instead of being especially the point about being interesting versus being interested. Mm-hmm. So there's this very commonly said quote: "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." I think that's really like essence of your presentation.
Yeah. Yes. Mike, I think you did a very good point in showing all the 4 eyes and how they actually link to actually building better relationship with people. I'd like to know a little bit more about the indifference part. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can share some qualities or some actions that shows that you're indifferent, because some people act indifferently without realizing it. It could be simple things like rolling your eyes. but they don't realize it. So
Yeah.
maybe you can share some examples of that in the
Yes.
future.
In fact, that the rolling of the eyes is an act of indifference. Right? There are so many different acts of indifference that we are doing subconsciously that we don't even know. Like when somebody is talking to us, like when somebody is telling you their problems, sometimes our mind just wanders elsewhere, right? Because why? Because we always think about our problem first. We could be thinking like, what am I going to have for lunch? While this person is talking. And that are small acts of indifference. Right? When your mind is not fully focused on the person that you're speaking with. Yes. So, when you give all your attention to the person that you're speaking with, that's where, and you practice active listening, that is when you are being interested and being invested. Right? These are small acts of being interested and being invested. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's a good lead up to what I want to ask you. So what if you're in a stage where you already have demonstrated investment or being interested in the other side or being in the other person, or you have demonstrated your investment in the other person, but somehow you're still not getting through because perhaps the chemistry is not there.
Yeah. These things can happen, right? We probably have experienced something like that before, especially in our love life, right? I'm just using love life as yes, business.
People tend to, I'm talking about, for instance, job interviews.
Yes.
People tend to choose people that they're comfortable with. So even if that person has demonstrated a great interest in their business or has obviously done a lot of study and invested a lot of time to figure out what the hiring hiring manager wants and needs. Sometimes hiring managers hire by gut feeling.
Yes.
That's just one example.
Yes.
Or even doing business with someone, not in an employer-employee situation.
Yeah. I use the So that is something that could happen. I use the love life example. It's similar, right? All of us have had someone we probably were have a liking to. We did a lot, but at the end of the day, there's no chemistry. This person just wouldn't accept us. Right? So it happens. So what would you do in that kind of situation?
Break up.
Next
Okay, that's next part.
Yes.
That's what I'm
Yeah. So
suggesting.
yes, correct. I think that's a great topic, right? But there are a lot of things which are not within our control, and these are one of those things which are not within our control. So we can choose to always focus on what we cannot control or what we can control, right? So we always have a choice, and if we choose to focus on what we can control, the things that we can do are a lot more. You start to see options, right? Say for example, this job interview, you are really invested, but it didn't go your way. What can you do? You can start asking yourself, what other avenues can I explore? Instead of just continue to be, thinking about, why didn't I get this job? What happened? What could I have done better? What did I do wrongly? So your mind is narrow, fixed on this, why you didn't get the job. When you start to focus on things you can control, you start thinking, what else can I do? It's all a matter of your mindset. Yeah. So this model is useful for communications, but it doesn't mean that whenever you use it, you will get the result that you want. Because there's no guaranteed results in this world.
Can I share that invested is a mindset? It's a mindset. Yeah, but the competency of getting someone else equally invested in you is way beyond invested. You have to speak the language of that person in terms of personality, season of life, and it's a lot more complex than just being invested. But without the intention to be invested, you can forget about all that. You wouldn't even bother.
So I think when you go overly invested, it sometimes can be perceived as bootlicking. Bootlicking, right? So I remember, right, when I first started off this training industry, I had some mentors. Eric was one of my mentors. And I remember in one of the event, right, one of the ladies came up to me and said, "Hey David, Eric's your mentor." I said, "Yeah." Then she went like, hey, I also want Eric to be my mentor. Like. Then she you know what she told me? She said, just now when he was walking out, I tried to carry his bag, but he told me don't want. How?
Yes. Yeah. So like what Eugene said, you have to speak their language and do the things that they like to do. Although it may sound like bootlicking, right? But that is how you get connected with others. People like others who are similar to them.
Actually, this is a great example. Sorry, can I just add one thing about Eric? Hey, who knows Eric from here? Very good. Very few. Okay. Anyway, he doesn't know you, really? The one can be arranged. Anyway, we both, in fact, David and I know each other because we both signed up for Eric Fong's course. Yeah. And then there were, what, 20 plus people in that room.
Oh.
How many?
14 or 18.
Only 14? Oh, okay. Quite a number of us. And a lot of us, okay, 2 of us are up to today still training for Eric Fong, but a lot of people sort of dropped out. And then you get a lot of negative vibes, right? People will be saying like, hey, how come we all attended the same program, but now David and Eugene are always speaking, going to Pattaya, Thailand, going to this and that. How about us? We also paid for the same program. So do you know what's the difference? And the difference is not because we speak better.
We invested much more time.
We volunteer a lot for this Toastmaster, which is not even a business.
Yep.
Right, every single week we are running the show, marketing and all that, without getting a single cent. This is a volunteer job.
Yep.
And then the rest don't even turn up. And then they're wondering how come they don't get jobs. Right, this is a perfect example of what being invested means. That you invest your time, your energy to make things work with no expectation of result. I mean, how would I know that Eric is going to give us projects? We just do it because we love it and we love the energy here, right? Who loves the energy here? Yeah. So you are invested in this, you come not expecting anything, but I assure you, you will get something.
Yep. Well said.
One thing that I would like to share is also coming up with this topic. I really stumbled upon this topic because this was a combination of conversations with different people and learning from different people. I wouldn't call this my own concept because it is from the wisdom of many people. So for those of you who are looking for a topic that you want to speak about, talk to more people, take down notes, and see how you can combine things together. And that's how I came up with the topic. Right. Being interesting, the difference between being interesting and interested came from one of my mentors called Marshall Turber. He was talking about this all the time. And I spoke to another friend who also went for the course. He said, there's one more level above being interested. His name is Colin Goh. He said, it's called being invested. So I thought like, whoa, it's powerful. But cannot be within just these 3 levels only. I need to create one more level below, which is called indifference. But it makes sense that a lot of times there are people who are interesting, and there are a lot of people who are indifferent. Right? And I just got this idea, and I was speaking to an old friend, and he just told me about this biggest problem thing. He said, do you know that many years ago, one of my friend's father asked me this question, do you know what's the biggest problem in the world? He said, the biggest problem in the world, we will keep guessing here and there, and then he was like telling me, no, you are all wrong. He said, the biggest problem in the world is my problem. I was like, wow, that is powerful, man. And that is how I combine everything. So I wouldn't proclaim anything here to be mine other than indifference, which I do not hope to be. Yes, thank you.